Great catching up with my next guest, Aiemann Zahabi, currently number 7 in the bantamweight division right now, and happy to be joining me here on this Monday. Aiemann, how's it going, man?
Yeah, things are great, man. I just finished, came back from vacation, so I feel really good. I feel rejuvenated.
Yeah, that's actually where I was going to start too, because I saw you went to the Middle East, which looked like a good time. Were you there for like a week? How did everything go?
Yeah, I ended up going for 10 days. I was a UFC guest fighter, so I had to do like signings and pictures and different, activations for UFC and the event. So it was really nice. But I decided to bring my family with me and stay an extra 5 days and enjoy Qatar as a country. It's a beautiful place, and we had a wonderful time.
Good stuff. How did the kids like going over there? Because it's obviously different than like a Disney vacation, right? It's pretty amazing, some of the architecture and all that stuff there, right?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's actually a little bit of all the different places in Europe. I feel like they're inspired from the different countries around them in in Europe and in the Middle East, and it's kind of like a new Dubai. It's really interesting. The architecture is beautiful. Everything's so luxurious and massive and big and beautiful, and everything's brand new. And I took my kids to do the dunes. So we went dune bashing. That was exciting. It was fun. It was more like an adventure vacation. Went to the water parks. Every mall in Qatar or Doha, I mean, has an amusement park inside. So like my kids went to like 4 amusement parks. It was crazy. We had a lot of fun. And then we had the VIP UFC experience. Sitting front row, and my kids got to do the fighter walk, which was really cool. I thought, and so they really got to enjoy the trip.
Good. Well, that's great to hear. Now, I know you wanted to fight Sean O'Malley. That was sort of the talk after the fight. They just booked his fight against Song Yadong. Were there any like serious talks about you fighting him? I know you wanted to fight him, but was that ever an option? Did you hear anything about him potentially being your next opponent?
Yeah, I like that Tim Welch came out in public and he said it on their Hawani podcast, and then he tweeted about it after to see if like the fans want to see Sean O'Malley fight either me or Song Yadong. So it was cool, and even Tim Welch thought it was a good matchup for them, and they liked the idea of fighting against me, and it was cool to see Umar Nurmagomedov call out my name and say he wants to fight either me or Figueiredo. I feel like my 7 fight win streak really has a lot of value, and it's something that guys want to take from me. So I like that. Um, Almost like my call out was I don't know how you say, like it had credit to it. You know, but like yeah, and like my I broke my arm, so I can't fight in January anyway. So it's normal that if they wanted to fight sooner rather than later, it makes sense that they fought. They got the matchups they got, which I'm happy to. I don't want to hold anyone back either in that sense. But it almost like creates a path that if Merab wins this weekend, there's a potential I'm next. So like it's weird to be rooting for another bantamweight, but I kind of hope Merab wins now.
Okay, well, interesting. Yeah, I guess, yeah, timing is everything, right? Like I always bring up the fact that Dustin Poirier got to fight Islam, right? And that wasn't thought of, 2 fights previously when he got knocked out by Justin Gaethje, right? So you never know, like, how timing can work out with title shots, right?
Timing is like it's like a weird thing, and especially in the UFC, if Merab wants to fight quickly again, let's say for example he wins on Saturday without getting too damaged, and he wants to fight in like 4 months. Well, the other guys are fighting January 24th. Are they really gonna be ready?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So we'll see.
And
Yeah.
depending who wins and who loses, right? Like we have no control of the outcome, right? So as much as people think one guy is gonna win over another, like until the fight happens, we don't know who the winner is. So depending who wins, I might be the next guy or I might not. Who knows? But I just feel like there is a path there.
Well, that makes sense. You're the odd man out because, yeah, I think last time we talked, you were kind of seeing if the arm was broken, and then now, so it looks like it's confirmed that you do need some time off. So that certainly makes sense because I was kind of wondering that, like, we're seeing all these bantamweight fights booked, and your name didn't come up, but that makes sense. So just when are you looking to fight again?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd be like end of March, April would be like how that's what I'm guessing for now because I didn't get an official timeline from my doctor. So I'm seeing my doctor again on Wednesday, so December 3rd. And we're gonna do another X-ray to see how the bone has been healing because I got the plate and the screws inside, and basically what he told me is that as long as we can get the bone to heal, you can go on to more training harder, right? But let's get past this phase of letting it calcify and whatever, because if I come back too soon and it doesn't set and whatever, and then we got to do something else again, it's gonna delay everything. So I've been very conservative in my training right now, and hopefully Wednesday, like I can go back to training more rigorously, and I'm just excited. So it all depends, like when I can go to training full throttle. That's when I'll have more of a clear idea of timeline. So it's all up in the air, but I'm guessing, I'm hoping for like April, March, late March, April.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious, sort of the timeline. Obviously, like we'll see how everything unfolds. But yeah, we talked about some of the bantamweight fights there, but I did want to talk about Saturday because obviously that's your division. Kind of, I know we've talked about this fight before, but just your thoughts on the rematch between Yan and Merab. And I think I even asked you when we were in Vancouver because you brought up a good point that I think a lot of people forget. Like Yan hurt his hand in that fight, right? So with all that said, like how do you see Saturday's fight unfolding, the bantamweight title fight?
Yeah, as much as I want Merab to win, I still think it's gonna be a 50-50 fight. Like I don't know why people are counting him out. Like I just saw odds now on Twitter. Like I was scrolling through X, and I saw that he's pretty much a super heavy favorite, Merab over Yan. And I'm surprised, to be honest, especially given the fact that his hand was injured the first time around. And it's no matter what you think of how good Marab is, you can't count a guy out like Petr Yan. Like Petr Yan has all the resources to make up his shortcomings of the first fight. You know, he's got a great coaching staff. He's 100% committed. He has no financial issues, right? So he's committed to training 100%. There's nothing else he's doing other than getting better and training really, really hard. And I believe the same thing for Marab. So I think this fight is much closer to 50-50. If you want to say 55% chance for Marab, over Yan, but I wouldn't say like 80% chance Marab. Like that's just way too much, in my opinion, my humble opinion. And I think there's nothing else Peter Yan wants in getting that title back. So I think we're gonna see a very hungry, motivated Peter Yan. But unfortunately, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, I'm rooting for Merab because it's a clearer path for me. Because if Peter Yan wins, he's got a lot of guys to defend the title before I can get up there, and I might have to fight one or two more times. Whereas if Merab wins, I feel like it's a shorter path for me. So that's my selfish take on the fight.
No, understandable. But I think most people are picking Merab. And just going back to the point you made about why he's such a big favorite, I think part of it is that he's looking so incredible in these performances. Like he finishes O'Malley in that fight, right? He beat Umar. A lot of people felt like Umar was going to be the guy to beat him, right? And he ends up getting the win there. I know Umar broke his hand, but still, a win's a win. And then he almost finished Corey Sandhagen in the last fight, and he ends up getting a decision there. So I think that's part of it. I think if I had to guess, I think had Yan finished Marcus McGee or finished Davison Figueroa or finished Song Yadong in any of those in that win streak, I think the odds would be closer. But I think because he's just winning decisions, there's not really like any sort of like X factor of him winning. But you're right. Jan's also never been finished in the UFC either, so that also makes it intriguing too. So I'm with you. I think it's close, but
I think your point is correct in the sense that because he's been winning them decisions, people don't think he's good enough because he's not, finishing guys. But I'm getting the same kind of hate, because
right.
I beat
No, for
Peter
sure. I
when
was
I
going to
beat
say, of all people to
Al.
relate.
No,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it makes it.
Yeah.
I get your point in terms of betting. In terms of betting, but like just to play devil's advocate, because I think your point is actually super valid. But just to play devil's advocate a little bit, is that Merab doesn't finish a lot of guys either. He's got a huge win streak, and I think yes, he is one of the greatest bantamweights of all time. I can see that for sure, but he doesn't have the best finish rate either. And Peter Yan finished Aldo, which is another. It's a nice finish to have. And it's not like he hasn't finished guys, and so I don't know. I wouldn't count him out. I'm not saying for sure he could finish Merab, but there is a chance Merab gets rocked quite often. So I don't know, and it's hard to take down shorter guys, in my opinion. And like when you're the shorter guy, like Merab fighting a Sandhagen or fighting a Sean O'Malley, it's easier for him to get into the hips, because it's harder for them to get their underhooks in. Whereas fighting a guy closer to your height, the guy who's shorter, the same height as you or shorter, it's easier for him to defend the takedowns, I find, in general. So I think it's going to be harder for him to take down Peter Yan the same way he took down Corey Sandhagen. Because with Corey Sandhagen, he took him down so many times. It's credit to Sandhagen for getting up, but it's like he still got a lot of takedowns.
And then I got to ask about the co-main event as well. Alexandre Pantoja, Joshua Van. How do you see that one unfolding? Because we got Van's 24, right? So we're not even seeing to a certain degree the finished product. But Pantoja's looks so great too. So what's sort of your read on that one?
I think it's gonna be fireworks. I think it's gonna be great. And like people might think this is a stupid take, but I feel like it's kind of Mayweather versus Canelo.
No,
Where
I get it.
Mayweather
The
fought
young
Canelo.
versus the
Canelo
old.
was 24.
Yeah.
He was
Great
25 or 24. And like he was incredible. He was when Mayweather fought him. Canelo was still incredible, but they say he wasn't seasoned. He didn't have the experience and blah 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 blah. But then he ended up becoming this goat, Canelo, right? And I think excuse me, I called him Yan by accident. But Van has great potential, and I'm not saying he can't win. I'm not saying he can't win, but it is a great time for Pantoja to fight him in that sense too, because Pantoja has crazy amount of experience. He's got a chin made of granite, like he takes so much damage. Incredible wrestling, great cardio. He only gets better as the fight, progresses. He's a thinker in there, and he's got a lot of solutions and a lot of ways to get guys out of there. Now that being said, I still think Van is preparing very well, and he's got a great chance. I favor Pantoja in terms of experience for this fight, and being 24, it's not easy winning the title. It's very hard to do, but I'm not saying he can't do it. I would just think Pantoja has got a better chance of winning.
Yeah, it's going to be certainly really interesting when you kind of look at that matchup. And then just last one I wanted to ask you, because again, it's in your division, this Henry Cejudo and Payton Talbott fight. Cejudo, the underdog, which I was a bit surprised by. What do you make of that fight?
Like I don't know them personally, right? But you've got to think that Henry's busy, man. He's got like a super popular podcast. A lot of his time and attention is being diverted to other things other than fighting. And Talbot, he's a big prospect. He's looking good. He's very athletic, very strong, KO power. Obviously his wrestling is not going to be as good as Cejudo's. Cejudo's an incredible wrestler, but has he been upkeeping that wrestling? Is it the wrestling that he's had of when he was champion, or has it diminished because he's distracted? Maybe he's not training as much. Like I don't know how hard he's training. I don't really know, but for how popular he is on his podcast and all the traveling he's doing and how busy he is, and he runs the gym and he's got so many things going on. Maybe Talbot is more narrowly focused on winning the fight, and Cejudo, he's got a lot of pans on the stove. So I don't know. Like that's the only reason why I would think Talbot is favored. Like that's his focus. That's what he's doing now, and Henry's had his run. But then again, Henry's a winner, so I don't think he wants to go out there and lose to Talbot. Like it would hurt his legacy, and Triple C cares about his legacy. So is that what's motivating him to go out on top like GSP? Because if he goes out on top, he can get endorsements forever. He can, do stuff forever. So I don't know what's pulling him more, the podcast or his legacy. So I would favor Talbot just because Talbot, that's his main goal right now. It's his main focus, and I'm going to give it to the guy who might be hungrier.
Yeah, understandable for sure. Yeah, anytime you hear retirement, I know he retired before, but it does seem like this is permanent, and that's kind of my next question. Like, do you think this is the end of Cejudo? Like, win or lose, do you think he will retire? Because we know MMA retirements. We got a guy on this card this weekend, and Jalen Turner, who retired earlier this year. He's back already.
Yeah, actually, I just found out he was coming back. I didn't realize he hasn't even been retired a year.
No, he hasn't. It was earlier this year, and then he came back.
Yeah.
But granted, much different age group, right? Like Cejudo's pushing 40. Yeah. Jalen's, I think, in his 30s, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, listen, I don't think the age is why he's retiring. I just think he's making money doing so many other things. And like, for me, from my perspective, I just think you need that hunger to dig deep in the fight. Like, let's say, for example, my Aldo fight. Like, if I wasn't so broke, I don't know if I would have dug so deep, and come out the other side. I don't know. I don't know if I want what they have so bad. I want the fame. I want the money. I want the successes. I want to be known as a great fighter. I want to be in the history books of UFC. Like when people think of Canadian MMA, I want my name to be at the top. I don't want to fizzle out. I don't want to be a flash in the pan. And Cejudo's already accomplished so much. Like he doesn't even, in my opinion, he doesn't even need this fight. Like he's not fighting for. First of all, he's not fighting for money. He's only fighting, I think, for me to leave on a win.
That's what I think too. Because the last fight ended in the eye poke. I think that's really why. Like if he had won his last fight, I think he probably that's it, right?
I agree with you. So I think. So that's like I'm playing devil's advocate. Like it's torturing me. It's like, is he really training? But like he wants to leave on a high note. But is he really committed? Is he gonna dig deep if something goes wrong? Whereas I think Talbot, it's like, you beat Cejudo, like all the hype is back. So I don't know who's more motivated.
What have you made, just before we go here? Obviously, they made a bunch of fights, and fans are kind of upset because, for example, at lightweight, people feel like Arman should be fighting for an interim title because he just beat Dan Hooker and he had the title fight earlier this year. And then at featherweight, a lot of people feel like it should be Movsar Evloev or Lerone Murphy. And instead, they went with Diego Lopez again. Like, does that, like, as a fighter, does that something you take note of? Like, it seems like they're not really looking at the rankings when it comes to matchmaking.
Yeah, UFC does what they think is best for UFC in the end, and I understand they're a business, they're a for-profit business, and it's just what I've been saying about my choice of call outs. Uh, we need to make the most entertaining win as possible. It's not just winning. Like winning is not. Unfortunately, winning is not enough. They want you to win in a way that attracts more viewership, that gets you fandom, that gets you noticed, you know? So, like, one of the reasons why I asked for Marlon Vera is because I knew, like, a fight with Marlon, there's going to be drama, there's going to be action. Either I can go down or he can go down, like, I got dropped, I got my arm broken, I came back, I fought, like, those are the kind of things they want to see. They're just, it's not just winning, it's entertainment to a certain extent, too. And what I find odd, though, let's say, for example, for the 145 situation is, in my opinion, Larome is super super entertaining. Like, I don't see why he didn't get it. And I'm not saying Diego's not. Also like a great fighter, great grappler, great striker. He's got so many tools. If I was Diego, I would look to submit Volk versus fighting him on the feet, to be honest. But I do think Larone is super entertaining, especially the knockout he got against in his last fight against Aaron Pico. Thank you. Why not give him the title fight? Mofsar, I understand what they're saying, but he's on a crazy tear. Like, it's not just about winning. It's not about winning only. It's about winning in a fashion that they appreciate. And like even like, for example, like the way Islam won his last fight, super dominant as an MMA fighter. I loved it. Like, I wish to dominate that much. I don't know how much UFC likes the way he won. So that's another thing. So it's a warning shot to all the fighters. No, we want you to win, but find a way to win that garners fans and viewership. It is important because that's what moved the needle. We went from a 1.1 billion dollar deal with ESPN to a 7.7 billion dollar deal with Paramount. We have to make that Paramount deal worth it for Paramount. So it is up to us to make it worth it for them, right? So they depend on us to create value. So that's the whole story behind it. That's the warning shot. Like now my friend Arnold's fighting. He's probably going to be fighting John Silva. That's a great fight for him because it's going to be entertaining. So he might supersede. Luckily, he lost to Movsar, but he might supersede him if that fight's fireworks. They might give Arnie the next shot. We don't know.
Yeah, totally agree. And you bring a lot of value to these interviews, Aiemann. I appreciate it, my friend. I hope you have a great holiday season. And by the way, great follow on Twitter if people haven't checked them out, especially when it comes to the Canadian political side of things, because I agree with a lot of what you're... Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
The West Coast is killing it in Canada. Am I right?
Yes, we are. Yes.
I want the East Coast to be like the West Coast. We need more, drill more oil, more pipelines, send the pipelines across the country. Yeah, that's all I want to see.
Yeah.
We need more LNG. Like, listen, how we're sitting on all these natural resources, we're not taking them out of the ground. Makes no sense to me, man. Yeah. I just came from Qatar.
Yeah.
We can be rich, man. We can be filthy rich as Canadians. We should be prosperous. Don't you think? That's like, I don't know.
I agree.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And anything you want to plug before we get out of here? I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, guys. I'm trying to build my YouTube channel. I would really appreciate if you guys if you guys watch YouTube or whatever. I'm gonna be putting out more content as I go. I'm committed to doing it. So give my channel a chance. Aiemann Zahabi official on YouTube. If you can help me build my subscribers there, thank you. I appreciate you guys.